Description: a small interesting lemon story about Naruto, Sasuke and Mikoto. First sign. Heavy rain clouds were creeping over the city. The wind ruffled the sign like a ferocious beast, and the door creaked pitifully. From the small cracks a long whistle was heard, reminiscent of bird trills, and as soon as they died down, the glass in the thin frame began to rattle threateningly. Hidden in a dark corner behind a display case, Sasuke watched the show heat up and slowly sipped his grape tea. People slipped out of buses, covering their heads from the first drops of rain, sought shelter under eaves and awnings, and hurried home, jumping over emerging puddles. The room was illuminated by a soft, warm light, breaking on the colorful water lilies of fresh flowers. Some were brought only today, and the buds were closed. On the other side of the display case and shelves with flower pots, next to the sink, a vintage sofa, as old as the Egyptian pyramids, lived out its long life. The Uchiha settled on it, with a cup and an enviable variety of sweets. The calm did not last long. Sasuke didn't even have time to finish drinking halfway when his mother rushed out from the corridor leading to the stairs upstairs. The chiseled figure was enveloped in a smoky white dress with frivolous ruffles on the sleeves. In it she, thin, fragile and smelling of roses, looked like a nymph slipped out of 18th century paintings. Following her, Itachi appeared, having already managed to change his t-shirt, stretched to the size of a sail, into a more or less representative dark shirt, though he still casually rolled up his sleeves to the elbows, and put on his favorite gray jeans. "Mom, you're so gorgeous," he said quietly, somehow losing his vaunted eloquence slightly. "And you're gorgeous. Is it true?" And turned to Sasuke. He rated his mother's appearance a maximum of 10. Mikoto, embarrassed, gently clasped her hands and hovered near the mirror and a small shelf with feminine accessories, completing her look. She gathered her long silky strands into an elegant bun, sprayed it into the air from a thin transparent bottle, and smeared scarlet lipstick on her thin pale lips. "So, boys, are you sure you can handle it?" she asked, having finished preparing. "Mom!" Itachi squeezed her shoulders encouragingly. "Well, what normal person would hide behind flowers in this weather? You'd better ask who goes on dates in this weather." She waved him off. "Don't forget, check journal entry." "Mom, Sasuke knows. If anything, it will help." Itachi gently pushed the woman towards the door. "The taxi has already arrived. For God's sake, just go and have a blast." That's it, I ran. Don't scare off your customers." After escorting her to the door, Itachi thrust an umbrella into her hand. Mikoto, gently kissing her eldest son on the cheek and nodding goodbye, disappeared into the shroud of rain. With a cracker tucked into his cheek, Sasuke watched fondly as she hopped into the car, straightened her windblown hair, and waved to them from the back seat. When was the last time she was like this? Itachi turned to Sasuke, wiping a lipstick stain from his cheek. He shrugged and then folded his fingers. "Last week? Wait, didn't she go to the doctor?" Sasuke nodded and reached for the cracker again. He looked questioningly, like, "What are you thinking about?" "So that's him, that doctor." Okay. The main thing is that she is happy." Soon Itachi was already sitting opposite him and, with the air of a royal personage, was rolling up a chocolate roll. Sometimes he irritated those around him with his manner of tearing bread with his fingers, but Sasuke was rather reassured by this sight. Long dark hair fell in a disheveled wave over his shoulder, his eyes sparkled like a cat's. Itachi was clearly worried and had difficulty driving thoughts about Mikoto out of his head. "How are you doing?" Sasuke frowned slightly and then smiled. Cool calm settled on his face like a weightless shadow. "It's already better. Yesterday I gave the dog back to the owner, the ear healed, vaccinations were given." "Vaccinations?" "Some." Itachi chuckled and was about to ask something, but the door thundered and a hurricane with the tanned face of a model from cheap lingerie catalogs burst into the flower kingdom of Mikoto-san. He burst in and froze, staring with horror in his blue eyes at the rows of bouquets, vases, and ikebanas. The black kangaroo was almost completely wet. The rain had already poured on the passers-by and got to know their dissatisfied faces. Itachi stood up. "What do you want?" The blonde troublemaker didn't answer. Sorry? Finally, turning his attention to Itachi, the boy thrust a note into his thin fingers. My name is Naruto. I'm deaf and dumb, please help me choose flowers, it's my mother's birthday. And he smiled, scratching the back of his head guiltily. Sasuke, it seems like this is your thing. For the next 10 minutes, Itachi watched the extremely amusing dialogue. Sasuke talked. Slowly, his gestures were intertwined into an intricate pantomime, his hands fluttered gracefully and smoothly, while the buyer responded with ragged, sharp movements, short and succinct. If someone bothered to translate this idea into words, it would look like Sasuke. He spoke in the trained voice of a diplomat, and the interlocutors shouted separate phrases and did not even bother to combine them into phrases. Itachi, however, did not understand everything. He was accustomed to Sasuke's monotonous and patient manner of expressing himself as simply and clearly as possible, and for the first time he encountered sharp, jerky gestures. The guys moved along the row, discussing the meanings and advantages of certain colors. The bouquets, carefully collected by Mikoto's sensitive fingers, seemed to gain strength under the gaze of a potential buyer, perk up and play even brighter. Itachi caught. They last longer, the smell is subtle and unobtrusive. And these? These are more suitable for a gift to a girl, for example, on a date. Answering, the Uchiha suddenly froze, and then turned his palm, unexpectedly ending the phrase with a questioning. On a date? Then he realized his mistake, got embarrassed, and taxied to the question. Is there? Itachi slowly went nuts and stole the unfinished tea. He probably witnessed his brother's mistake for the first time in many years. The silence was broken only by the quiet rustling and slightly ragged breathing of a hurrying buyer. Naruto was not the least bit embarrassed, and glancing over the Uchiha's face with a mischievous look, quickly answered, No. Sasuke's back, which was held so straight as if he had a stick instead of a spine, relaxed a little. In fact, Sasuke rarely interacted with his own kind. At work, he preferred to express himself in notes. Although Uncle Obito knew sign language tolerably well, he did not want to cause inconvenience to others, because sometimes explaining the most basic things took an indecently long time. It was easier for him to adapt to society rather than force society to change. Starting a sign dialogue with his own kind, most often Sasuke felt awkward. With everyone except Itachi, who has long been accustomed to his character traits and habits. But this time something strange happened. What is your name? The boy asked, tilting his head to his shoulder and looking into the Uchiha's face. He still looked surprised. He didn't expect to run into someone like himself in a flower shop on the street corner. Sasuke. The Uchiha answered tactily. I'm not a florist, the store belongs to my mother, but I can help. Naruto. The boy spelled it out, smiling faintly. This store was the most comfortable he had ever seen. Pleasant fresh aromas were in the air, bright cheerful light and an abundance of colors created the atmosphere of a fairy tale house. And Sasuke fit into it like some kind of fantasy character. Naruto's thoughts could no longer be stopped, so a black-haired, pointy-eared elf appeared before his mind's eye, sliding down the stone steps with a bow at the ready and shooting accurately, quickly, gracefully. The picture turned out funny. What did you decide? Sasuke described an intricate arc with his palm, pointing to suitable flowers. Red chrysanthemums. Sasuke raked the bouquet, cut the long stems, fluffed the branches of the accompanying branches, copying his mother's deft and gentle movements. All this time, Naruto watched on the sly, trying to cover his eyes with his wet blonde bangs and not get burned. Strong muscles stood out on Sasuke's beautiful, thin arms. And even his fingers bent somehow differently from those of normal people, smoothly, with rare natural grace. They fascinated and distracted even from his pleasant face and dark eyes. Thank you. Having received the bouquet, Naruto paid and walked deeper into the store while Sasuke fiddled with the cash register. The wind behind the window went crazy and drove people home with redoubled force. Apparently we'll have to get home by car. Maybe you can wait out the rain? Itachi asked. Then he cursed, remembering that Naruto was deaf and dumb, and walked up to him point blank. He stood with his back to Sasuke so that he wouldn't see anything. Will you wait out the rain? Naruto shook his head, nodded at the bouquet, and smiled. And he liked you, the Uchiha reported gesturally. Naruto's childishly open face lit up with a blush. For a couple of minutes they stood there, the cunning Itachi and Naruto, in harmony with the chrysanthemums. His and Sasuke's gazes met, and both hurried to run to the corners, Sasuke to the sofa post, Naruto to the street, into the rain and hysteria. The cunning Itachi remained standing in place and watching his retreating back. When the bell rang, Sasuke still peeked in which direction Naruto ran and even looked slightly around the corner. Slightly, so much so that the long neck almost cracked from tension. What, are you 5 years old? Itachi was indignant, finally ceasing to pretend to be a detective. I should have taken the phone, or something. Sasuke ruffled his feathers like a sparrow and began to blend in with the people at the bus stop. Sometimes, in an excellent mood, he could speak without gestures or any text at all. His body language was just as simple and obvious. At least for Itachi. Oh yes, of course, I didn't want to be intrusive and all that. Let me get ahead of things. You don't need friends, and you're coping just fine on your own, and in general there's no one in the world better than dogs and cats, and you went to the bathhouse, Itachi, with your concern. It's like that? Pushing off from the edge of the pensioner's sofa, Sasuke crawled closer to the table and, finding an empty mug, nodded. He raised his attentive dark eyes and slowly moved her towards Itachi, like a sneaky cat who was about to throw off a damn inappropriate object from the nightstand. Oh, well, yes. Make me some tea, and then go to the bathhouse. Shaking his head disapprovingly, Itachi went to get the teapot. Sasuke dug out his favorite cookies from the bowl and glanced thoughtfully at the display case. The rain showed no sign of letting up. Second sign. The second time Naruto came was when Mikoto started updating the display case. Sasuke and Itachi put on bandana aprons and fiddled with the paint, wondering which angle to start painting the frame, from left or right. A dispute was brewing. Sasuke stubbornly defended the upper left corner and the silver color. Itachi stood for the lower right and light green. Itachi won, but only because Sasuke needed time to counter-argument. As a result, he got tired of slowly and thoughtfully gesticulating, and he attacked his brother, swinging his brush epically, like King Arthur with Excalibur. Itachi defended himself with a paint container. All this action, due to the absence of vases on the platform, entertained casual observers at the stop. While the battle over the color of the frame was going on at the display case, Mikoto managed to take some flowers outside and put the bouquets in order. And she returned, opening the door wide. She had no intention of closing the door at this rate. The beauty routine should take a whole day, or even 2. Don't lose clients. Just when the elder Uchiha fished out the second brush from the bag and was about to sneakily attack from behind his plastic shield, Naruto decided to come in. The fight ended in Itachi's defeat. He was distracted by the light top of his head that flashed behind the glass, and Sasuke stabbed him with soft bristles right in the heart. Goonies, Mikoto said. Good afternoon. Naruto took out a notepad and scribbled something, handing it to her. Sasuke froze with the proud look of a great warrior, and only moved away when Naruto waved his hand. But he didn't forget about the war. He kicked the enemy behind the sofa with his heel and grabbed the silver paint. Not so. Itachi was not going to give up so easily. He quickly rose from the dead and tried to resolve the issue with the help of good old diplomacy. Sasuke, I think light green harmonizes better with the vases. I'm the eldest, and you should listen to me. Brush Excalibur pointed to the door. Then Itachi came from the other side. I'll repaint it when you leave. He received no answer. Sasuke knew perfectly well that Itachi was too lazy for such tactics. Little asshole! Itachi branded him, and Naruto suddenly laughed silently. Leaving the winner of the fight alone, the elder Uchiha switched to Naruto. This time he was wearing a t-shirt with a brutal smoking smiley face, light jeans and sneakers. I read lips and had a lot of fun. Oh, so you read lips too? Sasuke squinted and almost smeared paint on the glass. Mikoto returned with a large bouquet of white roses. Are you going on a date? The offended Itachi began to add. Naruto shook his head. For my friend's birthday, said Mikoto. Itachi, stop messing around. Can't two healthy men handle one frame? Yes, I paint. Itachi splashed some paint from a jar into his container. Is your friend cute? He asked, trying to speak more slowly so that Naruto could read the words easily. Naruto nodded. Then, after treading water a little and placing the bouquet on the crook of his elbow, he scribbled something in his notebook. He handed Itachi a piece of paper. And he ran away. As soon as he was out of sight, Sasuke stopped pretending to be a top-notch painter. What is there, you ask? What is written here, do you want to know? Itachi said in the manner of Master Yoda. Are you curious and interested, my young student? Sasuke kicked him lightly in the ribs. Phone. Itachi waved the piece of paper in front of his nose. Phone number. And they gave it to me, not to you. Sasuke returned to the frame with the most imperturbable expression. To get at least some reaction from him, Itachi went to get some tape and stuck a piece of paper right in front of his eyes. For Sasuke, it was reported just below the even row of numbers. What are your hobbies? I love music. I wish I knew what it is. When did you lose your hearing? Well, I was born this way. So I only know about sounds and melodies from hearsay. Do you believe that one sense organ can be replaced by another? Sasuke sat down. Calm moonlight peeked through the window, slid across the surface of the table, and drew a crooked polygon on the fleecy white carpet. It would seem like peace, tranquility, and night. Everything Sasuke loved most. But his soul was not in the same place. Sleep did not come, and his temples were pulsating, as if he had just stepped off a treadmill. The phone blinked, indicating a new message. I don't think it will work. What would you replace music with if you lost your hearing? After a moment's hesitation, I ran my finger over the sensor. There was a booming sound in my chest, with such force that the neighbors could probably hear it. A strange feeling was dragging my heart down somewhere. Well, what's the matter? I don't know. The finger froze. Biting his lip, Sasuke erased the message and knocked the back of his head against the wall. Indeed? Subtle, alarming shimmers of violin and cello, tapping drums, deep bass rumble of the orchestra. Is there any way to explain this to someone who has never heard sounds? Did you fall asleep or what? I could show you. Without allowing himself to change his mind, Sasuke pressed send. Now he couldn't sit. He got up and began to wander around the room, repeating the simple figure on the carpet. The fibers tickled my feet pleasantly, and usually this helped me relax, but not this time. Show what? What is music? Naruto sent a confused emoji and went quiet for about 10 minutes. I had to go make some calming tea. Sasuke found a chicken roll in the refrigerator, and instead of tea, he made himself a healthy, soothing sandwich. I'm too interested to answer adequately. Sandwich was calmed down, but calm never returned. It is difficult to respond adequately to an inadequate proposal. Maybe we can go somewhere together? Go to the park. Tomorrow if you have nothing to do. Went. Sasuke fell asleep on the table, burying his forehead in a scattering of small prickly crumbs. And he dreamed of a healthy red fox. The third sign. Summer turned out to be capricious, like a spoiled girl. Madame either shed crocodile tears, or rushed through the streets, throwing up the hems of her silk dresses in the wind, or, like today, forgot to cover the hot sun with clouds. Sasuke hid in the shadow of a tree, pulled a white baseball cap over his eyebrows and put a bottle of mineral water to his cheek. It didn't help. The heat penetrated to the bones, boiled the blood and suppressed any more or less significant impulses to activity. Naruto appeared almost on time and fell onto the bench nearby without a greeting. A drop rolled down his long neck, and a wet trail glistened above his lip. He wiped it off with his wrist and ruffled his hair, bending low and sticking out his sharp shoulder blades. Taking a breath, they looked at each other only a couple of times. Naruto's gaze burned with curiosity. Sasuke was warily calm and waiting for something. Soon the children appeared. They didn't care about the heat. They laughed and played in the bushes, poked around in the ground, tried to climb a tree. Under the weight of small bodies, branches creaked, dry earth and grass rustled. Sasuke thought. Naruto doesn't hear any of this. Doesn't hear and can't describe what he feels. He doesn't have many perceptual tools at his disposal. If only I knew a way to transform sensory information. Sasuke carefully touched his relaxed shoulder. Naruto didn't show any tension, just turned his head slightly. And only when Sasuke risked carefully taking his hand in his did he turn around. There was no awkwardness between them. Limited people always have difficulty overcoming a barrier, but Sasuke was used to cutting off inferior contacts, and Naruto did not look for them at all. Their acquaintance seemed like a sweet quirk of fate. What will happen if? What if the dialogue happens without words? Without explanations or gestures? Animals somehow cope by developing a base of signals. And they always understand each other. Sasuke tapped Naruto's palm with his fingertips, feeling at least stupid he didn't even look up, afraid to reveal his strange thoughts. But Naruto opened his palm completely, giving Sasuke room for his first experiments, as if he had caught what came into his head. Then Sasuke drew a line to his thumb. The delicate skin in the fold was slightly damp from the heat. He drew a question mark and sighed quietly, confused. When he looked up, Naruto was squinting like a half-blind puppy. "It's ticklish," his laughing eyes said. Finally, bowing his blond head to his shoulder, Naruto nodded briefly and slightly squeezed the warm hand. Still, in silence it was easier for them to hear each other. Sasuke had no idea how many hours they spent together that day, wandering aimlessly around the city, looking into store windows, sitting on benches cracked from age. Even if Itachi had demanded a detailed report on the work done, which he did, driving his younger brother crazy with his curiosity, Sasuke could neither explain nor tell how it all went. Because it was clear only to the two of them, and had no name. Where does this interest come from? Itachi asked himself, trying to portray Sasuke's unbreakably indifferent face, and at the same time reminding him of a well-known character with a split personality. Well, Sasuke, I care about you. What if you have a real friend? What if you don't need me anymore? No, Itachi, I will always need you. You are my beloved brother. Even if Naruto becomes everything to me, I will never forget you for anything. Oh, Sasuke. This is so. When the bun took off on a beautiful but short flight, Itachi deftly swerved to the side. Mikoto slapped Sasuke upside the head. Even the fact that you have found a friend does not give you the right to throw food away. And don't look at me with such suspicion as if I'm on Itachi's side. I'm really on his side. Mom, you should love us equally even if Sasuke is a perch. He's a sea cucumber, Mikoto remarked, deftly pulling out the scissors and bending over the ikebana. I haven't grown enough to be a perch yet. Sasuke knocked his head on the table. At such moments, he could only listen and, so to speak, flow around, because neither his mother nor Itachi missed the opportunity to compete in eloquence. Moreover, they usually honed their skills on it. Mom, when a sea cucumber hits hard objects with the part of the cucumber where the brain is, what should you do? How do I know? You should know, you somehow conceived this. I started with the wrong part, where the brain is. Mikoto clicked her scissors ominously. Now leave me alone, otherwise I'll force you to help. And if two cucumbers find each other in the big ocean, is there a chance that they will become a couple? The cycle closed. A bun flew at Itachi. Mikoto's palm hit the back of Sasuke's head loudly. So that's it, get out of here, both of you. The brothers scraped themselves off the wrecked sofa and crawled towards the exit. Do you only communicate with gestures? Or are you texting? Or? Sasuke elbowed Itachi, blushing slightly for some reason. Yeah, both, and another. They went outside. The clouds were about to pour down with a merciless downpour again. Thank you, Itachi, Sasuke said with a gesture and, turning on his heels, hurriedly ran towards the pedestrian crossing. Why do you thank me? I'm just worried, as always, Itachi said after him. And suddenly he laughed. Naruto was waiting on the other side of the road, smiling radiantly. Sign 4. Sasuke had a special connection with animals. For some reason, they felt it at other, subtle frequencies and allowed almost everything. They were given injections, they exposed wounds, even if they were going crazy with pain, and they ate pills from his hands. A few months later, Uncle Obito began to trust Sasuke with all painful procedures, and the veterinary clinic staff nicknamed him Dr. Pain. Despite the jokes, Sasuke was proud of himself and he probably liked making contact. That day, a small red lap dog came under our care. Sakura breathed a sigh of relief when she noticed Sasuke in the doorway and, with the air of an amazed warrior, handed him a collar that looked more like a bracelet. Half an hour later, the lapdog allowed herself to be petted. Better than nothing, considering that she preferred to hide under the table from the others. Sasuke made 2 injections, distracting the attention of the small beast with anything, but in the end the task was completed, even without serious injuries. Uncle Obito, looking into the treatment room, looked at him with slight curiosity, and then informed him that if Sasuke put the lapdog in the carrier, he would get an extra day off. To catch her, we had to make 2 circles around the procedural room, but, fortunately, there were no casualties. The Uchiha walked home in high spirits. The mood was extremely excellent. The evening also turned out to be wonderful, light, almost fantastic. The warm blue sky fell onto the horizon, covering the lazy sun. And Naruto wrote first. "I think about you all the time." Sasuke didn't answer right away, although he really wanted to. For the first couple of minutes I struggled with the excitement that rolled in like a destructive tsunami wave. "Shall we meet?" Sasuke stopped at some display case. Behind the glass shimmered trinkets, children's mosaics, ponies, and festive little things for every taste. How long has it been since he paid attention to this? "If you invite me to visit, I won't be able to refuse." Sasuke laughed and answered so quickly that half the words were misspelled. Laughing girls rushed past, one of them playfully winked at him. He probably looked too happy lately. Naruto crossed the threshold of his house, rustling the bag and smiling carelessly. He looked amazing in a white tank top and tight jeans. Looking at his happy, serene face, he wanted to kiss him, and Sasuke hesitantly froze opposite, biting his lip. They just stood there for a few minutes, looking at each other. Sasuke then extended his hand for a handshake, and Naruto squeezed his fingers affectionately. It was unusual to be next to someone in absolute silence. During a walk, there was always something going on nearby. The city was noisy, not allowing you to withdraw into your own little world. And now the sounds belonged only to him and Naruto, and in this emptiness it was unusual. Uzumaki brought sweets and some kind of milk-flavored tea. At first he laughed at himself and gesturedly remarked that he should have taken the alcohol, but then he relaxed and, together with Sasuke, happily ate the peach roll. With him, as before, it was very comfortable. Sasuke asked about something and observed gestures, sometimes without even connecting words into phrases, catching only the general meaning. He loved watching Naruto and feeling their bond grow stronger. "So you live near a flower shop?" "Yeah." "Is this interrogation with bias?" "I'll start to think that you're not indifferent to me." Naruto joked and took a sip of a good half of the tea. "Where did I screw up?" Sasuke grinned, resting his head on his hand. Naruto suddenly leaned forward and touched a strand of his hair with his fingers, gently smoothing it. "She's disheveled," he immediately explained, and then, embarrassed, covered his face with his palm. Sasuke exhaled sharply, withdrew his hand and pulled Naruto along with him. To realize his plan, he chose a bedroom. He laid down on the floor and threw his cell phone next to it. Naruto froze in bewilderment. "You wanted to learn something about music, didn't you? Sit down and close your eyes." Naruto obeyed and slowly sank down in front of him. Hesitating a little, he closed his eyelids, allowing the pleasant twilight of the room to absorb him. Feeling the light touch of his fingers, he extended his arms so that they lay on top of his knees and froze. Sasuke took a slow breath and pulled his phone towards him. A calm, drawn-out melody broke the silence, and the cell phone returned to the floor. The first thing Sasuke did was touch Naruto's nails with his fingertips. Barely perceptible on the very surface. I drew thin lines along the fingers, along the phalanges. He paused at the level of the sharp metacarpal bones, then resumed his movement towards the wrists and squeezed them. Naruto opened one eye and, meeting Sasuke's serious gaze, closed his eyes again. They were embarrassed, but again they didn't feel awkward. The conventions lost their power. Naruto became curious. Sasuke, it was important to achieve results. However, when he gently stroked Naruto's forearms, his whole body shuddered, breaking his mood. A pleasant sensation rolled down his spine in a wave as Sasuke beat out a musical rhythm with his fingertips. A moment later, Naruto finally risked opening his eyes and saw that Sasuke was also sitting with his eyes closed. His heart sank with tenderness. He leaned forward. The Uchiha felt warm breath on his lips and, slightly opening his eyelids, closed the distance remaining between their lips. The inability to say anything made Naruto instantly lose his head. Sasuke's calmness turned out to be false. As soon as he placed his palm on his slowly heaving chest, he felt the furious beating of his heart. "I realize that, music," Naruto explained confusedly, slightly pushing Sasuke away from him. Only to look into his face and understand that they have it mutually. Melody ended. But them already was not before her.